Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go. So a bit of backstory. I work as a manager for a major cell phone carrier. The amount of times we see customers who don't pay their bill and get mad that their service is shut off is crazy. Like, yeah, we aren't going to continue to provide you service if you don't pay what you owe. But I also do understand that people run into financial issues, and I will do what I can to help them out. Just don't be an asshole, and we will see what can be done. So recently, I had a Karen show up to my store in a huff. When I see customers looking angry or annoyed come in, I take them instead of giving them to one of my reps, because I feel like ultimately I'll get asked to help anyways. So I see her walk in with her kid, and I look towards here and smile. Me. Hello, how are you guys doing today? Karen. Not so good. Me. Sorry to hear that. What seems to be wrong? Karen. Well, you guys cut off my service and I'm mad because I talked to your customer service yesterday and they said that I should be fine with service until I can make my payment next week. Now, when it comes to situations like this, all I can do at the store is have her pay her bill to restart her service. When customer service CSCS makes promises like this, which happens a lot, and customers can have the extension due to a promise to pay service, we can try to contact CS and have them turn their phones back on. Now, the issue with contacting C's for a customer who has a past due bill is that the call will just go straight to billing to make them pay. If we enter another customer's number, CS will just hang up and report the store. So knowing this, I tell the customer exactly this to give her the right expectation, but I assure her that I'll do what I can to get in touch with CSE. She didn't like that. Karen, what do you mean you can't restart my service or contact CS? It's your guy's fault that my service is shut off. Me. It's not that I can't, it's that it will be difficult to get someone on the line due to your account status. I'm just setting the right expectations. Karen rolls her eyes. To get my service running again. So I guided her to my store's phone and called the number we have to call CSA. On the phone, I chose the options to speak with a CS rep, and the automated machine asks for the number I'm working with. I dial her number, and we get sent to billing. We then hear you have reached the billing department to make AI. Then Karen interrupts. Karen, that's the message that I get when I call them. Me. Yes, like I said, before this will be the only department you'll be able to contact due to your account status. Karen, we'll use your direct CS number. Me. This is that number. If you want, we can call back and try another option, but I think it will lead us back here. Karen agrees, so I hang up and call again. I try this time to reach a different C's department beside the general department that we call, but again, as soon as the system recognizes her number, we hear the billing message again. Karen, this is bullshit. Me, ma'am, please no swearing in the store. Karen, I'll say what I want. You can't tell me what to do. Me, you're absolutely right, but I can have you leave with no resolution to your problem. Karen, well then use someone else's number to get someone to answer. Me, like I mentioned before, I won't be doing that. I won't get my store in trouble for doing that. Karen, you have to listen to me. Now use your own number to get someone. Me, I'm not using my number. I've done all that I can do for you. If you want to use someone else's number, then you can call CSE from a different phone. Karen, then give me their number. Me, gladly. I start walking to the back to write down the number for her. As soon as I open the door to the back room, I hear her say that guy is an idiot. I stop in my tracks and walk right back to her. Me, you can leave now. I understand you're mad about your service being shut off, but that doesn't give you the right to insult me or my team, so leave. Karen, well, I'm sorry, she said condescendingly. Please get me C's number, and I will. Me, no, you can Google it. Karen, how am I supposed to do that? My service is shut off. Me, not my problem. Now leave. Karen, after she notices that I'm not going to budge for her, picks up her stuff, grabs her kid, and marches towards the exit. She says, as she's almost to the door, "You're an asshole," which one of my reps reply, "Well, at least he pays his bill." Probably not the major meltdown most people expect from retail stories, but I felt like it was good to share. Back in my Army days, I was once in command of a unit of about 80 soldiers in Hawaii. Dialogue sections are the gist of what was said, but it's been a minute, so they're not exact. Names changed, etc. Most of the soldiers in my command were great people, happy to do their jobs and take home a paycheck. Hard workers, creative, adaptable to unusual Army conditions, and generally reliable. But there was one who was trouble from the start. Gentle reader, meet Private Wiggles. My first awareness of Wiggles came 2 or 3 days after I'd taken over command of the unit. We're prepping for a month-long training exercise to Thailand, and platoon Sergeant Maggie tells me Wiggles might not be able to go as she just had an outpatient medical procedure. Departure is about a week away, and I have to validate the personnel roster to make sure we've got logistical support for everyone we're bringing. Transportation, food, lodging, etc. So I talk directly with Wiggles and ask if she's okay to travel and participate in the exercise. Wiggles says it's not a problem. She can handle it. We get to Thailand and set up camp on a Thai army base. 2 days in, and the medical section sends a runner to find me. Wiggles is at our medical clinic, tents with cots and surprisingly extensive medical supplies, laid out with extreme abdominal pain. I cruise over to the clinic tent and the physician assistant PA on duty tells me a couple things. Wiggles acknowledged recently having an abortion, the previously mentioned outpatient medical procedure, and the PA's examination and testing shows that Wiggles has the single worst case of pelvic inflammatory disease, PID, he's ever seen. Seriously, this Army PA, who has seen all sorts of crazy shit from soldiers, was emphatically impressed by how bad it was. Wiggles developed PID from failing to get treatment for sexually transmitted infections for a long time. As in, she's almost glowing from it. No judgment on the abortion. Not everyone is ready for kids. And the STI-induced PID can be treated with high-dose antibiotics, which the P has on hand. Not a problem. We've got this covered. Wiggles is released to Sergeant Deb, her section sergeant, who will make sure Wiggles takes her antibiotics and keep an eye on her for any further issues. Sergeant Deb finds me in First Sergeant Wensky, Bob about a day later, and tells me 2 more things about Wiggles. She's refusing to take her antibiotics and she wants to get out of the Army. I again talk with Wiggles. Me. So, you want out of the Army? You know you have a couple years left on your contract, right? Wiggles. I know, but I'm just done being a soldier and I want to be out of the Army. Me. Okay, I can make that happen. You don't want to be here, then I don't want you here either. But here's the deal. You got to play by the rules. I can get you out with an honorable discharge, and I'll start the paperwork as soon as we're back in Hawaii. But you need to take your antibiotics, do your job, and be where you're supposed to be. You do your part, and I'll do my part for you. Sound good? Wiggles. Yep, I can do that. Spoiler alert. She couldn't do that. For the rest of the Thailand exercise, Sergeant Deb had to take control of Wiggles' meds and force her to take them, when she could actually find Wiggles, who consistently found someplace else to be. At one point in the next week or so, she accuses one SG Bob of having sex with her, easily disproved, as he doesn't have any STIs and Wiggles has all of them. She was just trying to stir up trouble with wild accusations, I guess. We get back to Hawaii and I start the process to get her out of the Army because as much as she's been a handful of trouble in Thailand, I'm thinking it's still easier at this point to kick her to the curb than it is to keep her around and punish her before kicking her out. I was wrong. Even as I start to work on her discharge, she ramps up the stupidity. Here are a few examples. Wiggles gets caught drinking, only 19 years old. Wiggles and her husband lie to the on-base housing office and provide forged authorization documents to get into rent-free on base housing that they didn't qualify for. Side note, Mr. Wiggles was no winner either. He was about to be dishonorably discharged from his infantry unit for selling drugs to other soldiers. Wiggles shows up at the infirmary to get treatment for facial bruising. Mr. Wiggles kicked her in the face while wearing his combat boots, when Wiggles accused him of cheating on her. Wiggles refuses to show up for work or any unit formation, and can't be found anywhere for days. Wiggles slashes all 4 tires on Mr. Wiggles' car, then attacks him with a knife when he confronts her. Military police are called, end up taking him in when Wiggles gives a sob story. But he's the one with defensive wounds on his hands, not her. One of my male sergeants uses my open-door policy to visit me one day. Tells me he saw Wiggles stripping at one of the skankier gentlemen's clubs down in Honolulu the night before, and she'd also convinced one of our other female soldiers to come along with her to do the same. Here's a weird one. I get a call from a temp agency asking me if it's okay for Wiggles to continue working, through them, as an administrative assistant for clients in town. Not uncommon for soldiers to have a second job, but with everything else she was up to at the time, this one just had me going, what the F. There's more, but you get the idea. At this point, Wiggles' actions are egregious enough that I can no longer just kick her out with an honorable discharge. I put her on notice that she's at risk for a court-martial. I thought that threat might keep her in line, but she just couldn't seem to stop herself from getting stupider and stupider. It's the old 80-20 problem. 80 of your time is spent dealing with the 20 of your folks who are troublemakers. At this point, I'm wasting a not insignificant amount of time dealing with Wiggles' issues almost daily. I had genuinely and in good faith offered her the easy path, but I guess she figured she'd try to burn the place down on the way out, since she apparently thought she was getting what she wanted no matter what she did. I was reminded of what my old platoon sergeant used to say when I was coming up through the ranks. You want to get stupid? Go ahead, but I can get stupider. Cue the revenge. She's causing me daily headaches, so I'm going to bring the pain back to her. Honorable discharge paperwork is at the window, and I lean into the special court-martial process instead. My legal counsel tells me that Wiggles' activities are likely to get her a couple weeks confinement at most, maybe not even that. She may get a monetary fine, and she'll probably get an other than honorable OTH, discharge, potential for a bad conduct discharge, which are worse, but while her actions have been not that good, they also are not that bad. I'm rational enough to understand that. I have a brief chat with Captain Morgan, Wiggles' military defense attorney, about where I'm going with this case. During our chat, I try to be a gentleman and let him know that Wiggles is going to be trouble for him if he's not careful. He gives me a condescending, "This isn't my first rodeo, Baka. I'm a big boy and can take care of myself." Fair enough, I tried to warn you. Normally, a soldier getting a special court-martial for piddly shit might get confined to the barracks, restricted to their on-base quarters or something similar for the duration of the process. It's not like she killed someone, right? However, my military legal counsel drops this little gem in my ear. He tells me Wiggles has met all 5 of the conditions, danger to others, flight risk, etc., required by military law, Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ, to warrant requesting confinement prior to her trial. He tells me if you can remember these 5 conditions and elaborate on the details at our next pretrial meeting with the military magistrate, you might be able to get her confined to the Navy brig at Ford Island until the trial. I'm a guy who likes to pay attention to sound legal advice, so I do just as he says. A couple days later, we go in for the pretrial meeting, and I run down the list for the magistrate. Boom. Magistrate orders Wiggles to be confined in the brig through the trial. 1SG Bob and Platoon Sergeant Maggie go to pick her up from her on base housing. She won't open the door, but they know she's inside because they can clearly hear her and Mr. Wiggles banging away. This is important for later. The Wiggles finish up. She takes her time getting showered and dressed, and finally comes to the door when it pleases her. Off she goes to the brig. The pretrial processes take up the next 4 weeks. During that time, I have to deal with Captain Morgan, the paralegals in his office, and various fun things to do with her pending court-martial. Other than that, it's blissfully peaceful. Wiggles chills in the brig for 4 weeks. Seriously chills. Every time I had to visit, it was freezing in there. I required to make weekly welfare visits to see if she's being mistreated, if she has any needs that aren't being met, etc. Seems weird, but as her commander, I'm still responsible to make sure the brig staff aren't mistreating my soldier. Other goings on in this time period, Mr. Wiggles fraudulently applies for a car loan and gets a van in their names. Mr. Wiggles is dishonorably discharged and kicked off the island, flies home to wherever the hell he originally enlisted from. Captain Morgan asked me to consider an OTH discharge and time served in lieu of taking things all the way to trial. I'm hot to get that pound of flesh from her, but my legal counsel advises me to avoid the court-martial and just kick out Wiggles with the oath discharge. After all, he says she's already been locked up for almost 3 weeks, so the magistrate will probably just give her time served in the OTH anyway. See my earlier comment about sound legal advice. My boss, Lieutenant Colonel, LTC. Ryan thinks I'm too invested in the case, that I'm no longer objective. LTC Ryan insists on coming with me to the brig for the next welfare visit. This is 3 weeks into Wiggles' stay in those luxurious accommodations. Among other bullshit lines she throws at us, Wiggles tells us she needs to see the dentist about a filling that's giving her trouble, and Motrin just isn't working. At the end of the visit, LTC Ryan tells the guards about Wiggles' filling, asks if they can give her anything stronger than Motrin, then instructs them to follow up with the dentist. Guard actually laughs out loud at this and says, "No, sir, Motrin is the best we can do in the brig." And that other thing, For the last 2 weeks, she's been telling anyone with ears that she wants to try getting her wisdom teeth pulled before she's kicked out. She doesn't have a problem with any fillings. It was hilarious to watch LTC Ryan's face go from obvious concern for Wiggles' well-being to outright fury, and the next words out of his mouth were that bitch lied to me. I make arrangements with Captain Morgan to accept his request for time served and oath in lieu of court-martial. Sometime later that week, I get a call from the brig. Wiggles is pregnant. Remember the scene at her house 4 weeks prior, and they can't keep her confined anymore because of it? She has to be released back to her unit until the court-martial or other actions are complete. Captain Morgan stakes his reputation on Wiggles being a good girl until we can send her back home to Carolina. He'll come to regret that, and he can't say I didn't warn him. We get Wiggles back from her 4-week all, inclusive stay in the brig. I've accepted Captain Morgan's request to avoid the court-martial, and I confine Wiggles to the barracks under supervision for the 9 days she has left until her flight to Carolina. Immediately, we have another shit show. Wiggles is smoking in the barracks. Not a big deal that she's smoking, it's just not allowed inside barracks rooms. Wiggles is caught with a bottle of hypnotic liquor. In her barracks room, she's still only 19. Wiggles slips out of the barracks and runs off for a day when her platoon sergeant gets distracted from supervising her. 1SG Bob and Lieutenant Ricky, the executive officer, go to collect Wiggles' belongings from her on base housing so we can box it up and ship it to her home, and they find that Mr. Wiggles has left behind a bunch of stuff he stole from other soldiers. Body armor, military equipment, and some ammunition, smoke grenades, and explosives that he stole during trips to the range. All lined up right inside the front door where it's impossible to miss. They call me, asking what to do. Me, just collect it all, return the equipment to the central issue facility, and dump the ammo and explosives in the nearest amnesty box. Mr. Wiggles obviously meant for Wiggles to take the fall for having it Husband of the Year. If we take that bait, Wiggles will be here forever. I don't want that. Do you? Lieutenant Ricky, nope, I don't want that either. It'll be like it never happened. In light of all this drama, I bring Wiggles into my office to remind her of her agreement to be a good girl till she leaves the island, with Lieutenant Ricky as a witness in the office to protect my ass. Me. Wiggles, you're in violation of your release agreement from the brig. You've been sneaking out of the barracks. You've been smoking and drinking. Wiggles. She cuts me off. Yeah, and doing all kind of drugs too. Heavy sarcasm voice. Me. Be that as it may, I'm giving you fair warning that you're at risk of losing the deal I made with Captain Morgan. Additionally, you're pregnant again. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but most damage to a fetus from alcohol and smoking will come in the first few weeks after conception. I don't know if you're planning to keep this one or not, but at the rate you're going, this baby's going to be born dumber than you. Wiggles, gaping like a damn fish, finally picks her jaw up off the floor. Wiggles then bolts from my office and runs down to LTC Ryan's office at the other end of the building to squeal on me for insulting her, Lieutenant Ricky hot on her heels. She tries to rush into LTC Ryan's office, but Lieutenant Ricky gets in first and fills him in. Lieutenant Ricky tells me later how it went down. Wiggles is yelling about how I called her stupid, strangely vanilla thing to focus on considering everything she's done. But you, and that she's being mistreated? LTC Ryan yells at his admin to get Captain Morgan on the phone. Now, he reams Captain Morgan for his client's jackassery, tells him to fix this, and makes various threats to Captain Morgan's career. About a half hour later, I get a call from Captain Morgan. Captain Morgan. Baka, baka, baka. Yes, he did that whole patronizing bullshit. I can't believe the words I'm hearing from Wiggles. I'm shocked, just shocked that you would use language like that and call her names. Side note, my mom is an attorney and I grew up with tales from the courthouse about lawyers using exactly this sort of hyperbole. Your Honor, I'm shocked, appalled, and dismayed that opposing counsel would attempt to paint my client in such a light. It's the kind of bullshit they said when they didn't have a good argument. So as soon as I hear the word shocked, I know I own him and immediately cut in. Me. And I bet you're appalled and dismayed too. Captain Morgan. Stumbling and sounding slightly confused. Well, yes, of course I am. You can't talk to soldiers like that. I know of a lieutenant colonel, a commander, who called one of her soldiers stupid, and she's no longer in command now. Me. I didn't call her stupid. I informed her of basic biological facts. Not my problem if she takes the news poorly. And arguably, she's not all that smart. Anyway, you called me, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't to warn me about what I said to Wiggles, so what do you want? Captain Morgan, what will it take to prevent you from kicking back our deal? Apparently LTC Ryan had cinched his asshole up good and tight. Me, you could get her on a plane tomorrow. Captain Morgan, how about if I get her out of here by Friday? It was Wednesday, and she was due to fly out the following Wednesday. Me, I don't think you can manage that, but good on you if you do. To his credit, Captain Morgan gets Wiggles a flight for Sunday, 3 days early. I print up official orders appointing Lieutenant Ricky as a military escort specifically for her. Lieutenant Ricky drives her to the airport, and the airline desk agent calls me to verify his status when they get to the check, in-counter. They give him a special pass to get through security with her. He stays with her at the gate to make sure she gets on, and stays on, and stays on. The plane then stays at the gate until the plane is in the air. Some boogers are hard to flick. We wanted to make damn sure this one landed someplace else. About a month later, I get a call from the military police about a derelict van in the parking lot with all 4 tires slashed. Guess who that belonged to? It's really kind of sad when I look back on it. I had 2 other soldiers come to me at different points asking to get out of the Army ahead of their contracts. One just didn't want to be in the Army anymore. The other did want to stay in the Army, but had family issues that would be a lot easier to deal with as a civilian. They played by the rules, and I got both of them out with honorable discharges and all the benefits. They even qualified for unemployment. Too easy. Wiggles could have had the same treatment. I told her exactly what I could do for her, then had to shift gears and told her exactly what I was going to do to her. Then I did it. I could have been her best friend on her way out the door, but instead I ended up owning her and her dumbass defense attorney. She screwed herself out of transition benefits and access to the VA and picked up a lifelong black mark for employment, all because she couldn't play nice for a few weeks. She decided she wanted to play mess around, screw around games, and we all know what happens next. As you may have guessed from the title, I went shoe shopping today. Nothing too fancy. I just wanted to get a new pair of running shoes. So I'm at a local shoe store browsing the stock of good shoes at relatively low prices, which is why I go there. I'm not into trendy new shoes. I just like ones that fit well and let me run comfortably in them and don't want to overpay. The best way to do that, in my opinion, is to get brand name great shoes, but in prior models so the price is reduced. Anyway, I find a nice pair of shoes and am in the process of removing them from the box so I can try them on when I hear a woman shout from the end of the row. When you're done there, get over here and help me get my feet into these, and hurry up. I don't have all night. I figure some mother is talking to her kid in a rude way, which I've sadly heard parents do before. No kid around, though. Oh well, I pay no attention and go back to checking out what I hope will be my next pair of running shoes. But alas, soon I hear the woman again. What do you think you're doing? Customers come first? She's turned her wrath on an employee, I think. Well, they can handle themselves. Let's do some short little runs back and forth across the aisle since no one else is over here so we can see about these shoes. So I start jogging back and forth, looking at the shoes on my feet and the space near me and paying no mind to anything else. These fit great, and they're not even $40. I do believe I will buy these. Then it happens. I'm slowly jogging back to my own shoes, totally delighted at getting the new pair, and I feel something slam into the back of my head. I look around, and the woman with the behemoth behind is standing there with a smug look between anger and satisfaction plastered across her miserable face. You should have seen that coming if you were paying attention to your customers. Now, get over here and do your job before I get you fired. It takes a few short seconds for me to process this. My mind is working this way. She hit me in the head with a shoe because she thinks I'm an employee. Wait, she hit me in the head with a shoe. Me. Are you out of your mind? I don't work here, lady. Yes, I got to yell the title of this sub at her. I started moving toward her, but 3 real employees descended on us. The behemoth took the lead and launched into a tirade about how I wasn't doing my job, even though I just told her I didn't work there. I told the nearest employee what happened while she ranted to a guy who turned out to be the manager. I thought he might believe her for a second, but he was having none of her nonsense. It turns out he had been in the back working and watching the video monitors, which allowed him to see her throw a shoe at me and hit me in the head. He asked if I was okay. I was okay, just stunned, and then he told the behemoth he was calling the police. She tried running away but hilariously slipped on a shoebox, falling right back onto the seat she had been on, and then she apparently gave up on the idea of escape. A police officer arrives in a few minutes. I tell him what happened while the behemoth denies it and claims I threw the shoe at her. The manager says he saw the whole thing happen as I stated and even has video, which he then copies onto a USB drive. This goes into the officer's pocket before he places the behemoth into handcuffs and leads her out of the store. As for me, I got my brand new pair of running shoes at the best price ever, free, thanks to the manager's insistence even though I said he didn't need to do that. Enjoying the stories yet? If you do, please subscribe, like, and comment. So we have our fair share of homeless people in my town, the usual ones at the end of exit ramps with signs or at the lights of highways. Usually, I don't give anything, because realistically, you usually don't have anything to give. But yesterday, I had a decent day and actually found myself with a couple of bucks on hand. I see one particular man at a freeway light often, and I know some of his story. He does use any money collected to purchase food, drink, not alcohol that I've seen, and will accept items graciously, not just cash. So I pull up to the light, wave him over, and hand him the $4 I had. He thanks me and happens to walk across the intersection to the same gas station I'm heading to in the first place. I go in to get gas, he grabs some of the hot food and a cheap fountain drink. All good, right? Nope. In comes Karen. The typical look and everything. Big sunglasses, the haircut, yoga pants, all of it. She immediately storms over to the register and demands a manager. I'm only mildly paying attention, 'cause I just need gas. Manager comes forward and this woman points that ugly 8 orange-red long nail at me. I need police here. That woman gave that drug addict money outside your establishment and a slew of other really random and ever-growing nonsense. At this point, the 3 other customers, me, the man I helped, and now a very interested customer are staring at her. Manager looks so confused, so I chimed in. I said regardless that it isn't her business. I gave the guy a few bucks across the street, and he's buying food. Manager is like, okay, Karen isn't happy. She is screaming that obviously the station is a front for drugs, and all sorts of crazy shiz. At this point, I've lost interest. Man buys his food, walks out. I get to register, ask for gas. Is Karen done? LOL. No. She demands that if I'm going to pay for his drugs, then I need to buy her gas. She tells the cashier and manager to put, I think like 40 on whatever pump she was at on my dime and storms out. We all just blink. I chuckled a bit and told them how much gas I needed. I was going to just ignore it, but I'm petty. I said put $1 on her pump. Her screaming when the pump stopped at $1 was beautiful. I got my gas and left while she was storming back into the station. Best dollar I've ever wasted, and glad she didn't actually harass the poor guy just trying to eat. I'm going to say that today was one of the most insane days I've ever had in my life. It involved me contacting the sheriff and picking up the paperwork for a restraining order and involving my attorney, all because our snowplow guy decided to threaten me and my family. So here's the story. It's a long one and a crazy one. Late last year, our house was ruined for water intrusion in the roof. It's been a massive insurance claim, and as part of that, the insurance company has been paying for us to rent a house nearby. We moved into this place recently, and it's been great so far. One of the benefits was that as part of the lease, we would have someone who would come by to snow plow the driveway, which was great. And the weekend we moved in, there was a massive snowstorm. 60 mph winds and the driveway at our new place was snowed in. The plow guys never showed up, so I basically shrugged it off, got my snowblower. We brought ours to this place and cleared the driveway. I messaged the owner and asked if she could share the plow guy's phone number so I could message him. She did, and surprise, it was actually someone we knew. Small town. This guy has a reputation, but we never had any problems with him. So I sent him a message and said that we were living at this place and that I had my trailer parked in the driveway and would need him to keep the snowbanks pushed out so I could turn it around properly. I also offered to help keep the parts he couldn't reach clear with my snowblower, since plowing around a trailer can be a pain. By the way, this is a supermassive driveway and parking area. I have 4 trailers parked and there is still tons of room. They are also parked in places out of the way of his push paths. For what it's worth, if he had said to me, "Sorry, I can't plow your driveway," as I would have been like, "No problem at all, I will take care of it." I had no expectations of him at all and was fully prepared to do it myself. But he said all was good and told me not to bother snowblowing as he would be by with his machines to clear things up. Well, not long after another storm come by. 1, 2 of snow on our driveway and my wife can't get out. So I got up, started the snowblower and cleared the driveway. By the way, this is not a quick process. It takes me about an hour to do the whole thing. His employee with a loader shows up at 10 p.m. that night, sees the driveway looks clear and drives on by to his next stop, a house close by. I didn't make a fuss about it because I get it. Maybe we are the last on the route, but I can't just sit inside all day and wait. I just thought, well, this guy got a freebie on me, AKA, he didn't have to do the work. A short bit of time went by and I woke up to go snowmobiling. We had a fresh 18 of snow on the driveway. The plow guy hasn't come, and I had to depart at 8:15 to meet a friend at the trailhead. My trailer weighs 7,000 elbs. It's 28 long and closed and holds 5 sleds. My big truck with brand new top-of-the-line snow tires just can't pull that thing up a hill in 18 of fresh snow. So I got my snowblower out, cleared the path from the trailer to the main road, and off I went. I got back at 4:00 p.m. They still weren't there, so I cleared the rest of the driveway so I could turn around and park the trailer. Their guy drove by at 10:30 p.m. at night. Now here's where the crazy starts. The owner texted me today and said, "Do not snow blow your driveway anymore. You are taking money out of my pocket." To which I responded that I have no interest in snow blowing my driveway and would prefer for them to do it, but that I need them to come early in the morning because we work and need to get out of the driveway, and I can't get my trailer out without a clear path. I've tried. He called me immediately after that and all hell broke loose. The phone call went like this. "Hin, you better stop doing what you are doing because we are contracted to plow that house, and you are causing me to lose money every time you do it. You need to learn how to just deal with it when it snows." I told him I was dealing with it. If I can't get my car out of the driveway, I clear it. I don't have time to hope they show up. During the call, he called me a thing pie and said I needed to learn how to drive my car like a man, that I should go park my trailer in town the day before, and that I was not allowed to plow my own driveway. He then told me how my house was the lowest on his priority list, but he still felt entitled to the money for the plow fees. I didn't know this, but apparently his contract is a base monthly rate and a very large payment for every extra plow when the snow is above 6. Our insurance pays the homeowner directly, so we aren't really aware of this. But anyway, the call got heated with him yelling at me to stop screwing him over and how I'm apparently a dumbass and I'm not allowed to clear my own driveway. At this point, I basically said that if it's such a problem, perhaps I'll just call the owners and suggest they cancel the contract. I'm the one paying for it. I do have a budget with insurance, and this is a line item. So why have someone who treats me like shit? From here on out, it got worse. He started making threats about how if I get the contract canceled, he is going to come down here and deal with me, and lots of other things not worth saying corresponding to threats against myself and family. I ended the call. They immediately called the local police department, filed a report. A case was opened, and I was referred to the sheriff's office. I also called the owners who were appalled by what had happened. They immediately sent him a note stating he would no longer come by the property and canceled his service. To add to this, it's not the first time he's done something like it. The sheriff's department is very familiar with him, as are many people in town. So yeah, that's where we are, and feel free to add thoughts and advice. We have security cameras all over the property, and we'll be following up with the authorities. So, what a day it's been. I'm an electrician. I was working in a grocery store replacing all 1956 fluorescent light bulbs with LED bulbs. I was packing a cart of old bulbs to the back to dispose of them, and as I walked, I heard, "Hey, you." I ignored it till I heard it again. I turned to look around and heard her say, "Yeah, you," and the Karen stormed up to me. "Pick that up," she demanded while pointing at an ice cream container broken on the ground, her voice full of entitlement. "I don't work here," I said, thinking that would explain everything. "Well then, what are you doing here?" she demanded, irritated that I dared to contradict her. "I'm changing light bulbs," I said, wondering what her problem was. She grabbed my shoulder and brought her face an inch from mine and growled. "That means you work here, so clean it up." I then realized that I was dealing with a crazy person, so I just said okay to make her leave me alone. An actual worker at the store saw the whole thing and waved me off and cleaned it, while I went on with my day. The whole experience was weird. You won't believe what just happened to me. A woman, entirely naked and visibly distressed, comes knocking on my door late in the evening. But it gets weirder. She had this unsettling geometric-shaped rash covering parts of her body. Before I could even process that, she demands to use my phone. She starts going on about tall men being after her and how crucial it is that she contact someone who can help. She doesn't ask nicely. doesn't seem grateful for the help I could potentially offer. She just acts like it's her god, given right to use my phone and intrude on my life with her bizarre tale. Despite her strange condition and frantic demeanor, the entitlement was too much. I told her, look, if you're in trouble, I can call the police for you, but you're not using my phone. She went ballistic, saying that the police couldn't be trusted and that I was contributing to the problem by not letting her use my phone. Finally, I had enough and told her to scram. She stormed off, shouting that I'd regret not helping her when they come for me, too. I'm still baffled by the whole situation. Is it just me, or does entitlement know no bounds these days, even in the strangest of circumstances? Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences, opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.